cats, welcome back to another episode of Chat About Tay. I'm your host, Bella, and in this episode, I'm going to be chatting about my Swiftie journey by going through Taylor Swift's career and discography. So I really wanted to talk about my Swiftie journey, and that's kind of what I wanted to start out this podcast with, is kind of explaining why I'm a Swiftie and how I became a Swiftie. But obviously the intro and the thing that started this podcast and started the idea to do this podcast was reacting to the new album. And then, there was a bunch of stuff that just came out with the album. So I didn't want to put off talking about the album since it's still fresh in everybody's minds right now. But now that I've already discussed the album, given my rankings, and the documentary hasn't yet come out yet, so I really want to talk about my journey as a Swiftie. This episode is also just going to be her debut album through Reputation, since she has 12 albums and since she has had a career for almost 20 years. I don't think I can go through 20 years of my Swiftie journey in just one episode, so this is going to just be one part, but I'm still excited to go through everything, and we'll get started with her debut album. So I believe the first time I heard Taylor Swift's songs was actually in 2006, right after her album was released, because I kind of feel like I either remember hearing one of the songs on the radio, maybe prior to having her formally introduced to me by someone that I knew. And again, back in 2006, I was in oh my god, I think I was in 6th or 7th grade back then. I can't remember exactly, and then the timing is a little fuzzy for me just because it was so long ago, but let's just say it was 2006. And I remember the first song that I ever heard from her was Tim McGraw, because I distinctly remember being in my friend at the time, one of my friends from middle school. I remember being in her basement, and we were cleaning up our toys that we were playing with. Yes, we were that young. And she was playing songs on her iPod, which, yes, back then we used an iPod. We didn't use Spotify. And I believe Tim McGraw started playing. And I was listening to it, and I wasn't super into country. I knew, the big names in country, but I wasn't a casual country listener. And I kind of liked the song. I thought it was kind of good. And I was like, oh, this is kind of a cute, clever song. I was like, who is this? And she was like, her name's Taylor Swift. She's a new artist. And I was like, oh, cool. It's cool. And she was like, I'm going to play one of her other songs for you that I think you're really going to like. And this is my favorite song. And so she played me Picture to Burn. And after I heard that song, I was immediately like, yes, I'm all for this. I really like this artist. I love that song. This is super cool. And so she played me a bunch of her other songs. And I went home that day and I was like, oh my God, I really like Taylor Swift. So I was talking to my other friend about Taylor Swift. And I was like, oh, have you heard of her? And she's like, yeah, we actually have her CD. You can borrow it. So I borrowed the CD, burned it onto my iPod, gave it to my sister, and was like, you need to listen to this artist. And so I was listening to her music so much. And then I was like, Mom, this artist, she's really good. So my mom started listening to her in the car with us. And we all were like, man, she's really cool. And then we found out she was going to come to town as an opener for Rascal Flatts. And I was like, Mom, Dad, please take me to this concert. So my parents took me to the concert along with my other friend, the one who had the CD, and her mom and some of her siblings, and my sister came along as well. And we really just went to see Taylor Swift. We didn't really know much about Rascal Flatts. But then we started listening to Rascal Flatts as well. And then as we, started to just sort of follow her career and follow her on, country music television. And man, I can't remember all the names of the kind of the country versions of MTV. I know country music television is one of them. I can't remember the other ones, but we would watch her music videos on there. We would watch her performances. Anytime she was on, an award show, we would watch her. And we just sort of just started following her, and I just really fell in love with her music. And also I learned how to play the guitar around this time. So learning to play guitar around this time and also playing her music kind of helped me come a little bit more connected to her in a sense, and it kind of sparked my interest a bit more to play guitar, because her songs are really easy to play on guitar. So that was sort of just I felt I kind of a kinship with her. And I don't want to sound like I have this weird parasocial relationship with her, because I know she's a celebrity and she doesn't know who I am. I've never met her before. I have seen a lot of her tours, and we will talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I felt kind of connected with her just because we both play guitar and stuff. So and I was also in choir, and I sang, and I did a lot of musical performances and stuff, and I was in theater. So I just kind of felt as a musician, as an artist, I kind of felt connected in a sense. So yeah, we saw her opening for Rascal Flatts in 2006. That's what it says she performed. 2006. Man, that is so long ago. And we loved it, and it was so much fun. And I remember like the person coming out to like introduce her and be like, this is Taylor Swift, like she's a new artist, blah blah blah. And then she literally, I remember this, and the person that was introducing her was like, okay, let's sing our song together. And we were like singing the chorus together, like with Taylor as she was playing it. And then I remember when the song was over, the girl was like, you all just did a duet with Taylor Swift. And I always remembered that, like that. I don't know, I know that's not really true, but it made me happy. And yeah, so we loved her music. We got to see her open for Rascal Flatts, absolutely adored it. And then so all of the singles that came out with the first album were Tim McGraw, Teardrops on My Guitar, Our Song, Picture to Burn, and Should Have Said No. And one of my favorite performances from her at that time was when she's performed Should Have Said No at the American Country Music Awards. And I believe this was I think this might have been in 2007 when she did that. But I just love that performance. It was the one where she kind of started off and she was in like a hoodie and jeans, and then they rip it off of her and she has like dress underneath of it, and then there's rain pouring down, and it was really like innovative performance. And I just think like even back then she was just sort of like doing like really innovative, cool things with her music and with her production that people weren't really doing. And I think the thing that like drew me to her and also like the public to her was that she was writing her songs. Like she had co-writers for a lot of her music, but like there were a lot of songs on her debut album that she just wrote herself and didn't have co-writers on. And the fact that she always had a hand in writing her own music really set her apart from a lot of people, because even artists today that are really popular like don't write all of their music and it's written for them. So she's always been innovative like that, and she's always had ownership over her music, and that's I think why she was so adamant on owning her masters, because they're her music. You know, it's not like she had a bunch of people writing the music for her and she didn't own it. That would be a different story. But because she had, you know, that hand in it, and they are her music, they're about her life. That's why she was so adamant about that. But you know, we can do a whole episode on just the whole situation with her masters. And then when she announced her album Fearless, so Fearless is her second album, I was so excited. And so we got the album, we listened to all the songs, you know, her singles that she had, which was like Love Story was like the main single of that album, and we were so excited about it. And we knew that like we had to go see her on tour because she announced that she was going to be doing her own solo tour. And so I did see the Fearless tour as well, and it was amazing. I remember we sat on the lawn because back then she did a lot of wasn't really until I think maybe like Red or so, a lot of her concerts were like outdoor venues where there was like an indoor section you can sit in, and then there's a lawn section. And she doesn't do that anymore because she's way too big for that. But back then, that's what she did. So we sat on the lawn for that performance. And we also sat on the lawn for the opening as well. And it was so cool. Again, the innovation that she had, because, you know, she as an opener, she didn't really have any like backdrops or anything. I think it was just like a screen with like video kind of behind it, or kind of like ambient kind of video behind her. But this, she really had her own, you know, sets. She had costumes. She was really like going all out with it, and it was every song like had their own little section. And you know, she had the ball gown for Love Story, she had you know, sparkly dresses on, and then she had her little band outfit for You Belong With Me and everything. And again, I just really loved her innovation. And so with, like I said, with her first album Picture to Burn was my favorite song. My favorite song from Fearless is You Belong With Me. That's one of my favorite songs that she's ever written. Absolutely love that. And I loved her music videos. And back then she started with this album. Maybe she might have actually done it with her first album too, but she always had like behind the scenes of her music videos. And back then those weren't really on YouTube. Those were on like country music television, or, you know, other country music, like I was talking about. There's like basically like they're like the MTV of country music. So country music television was like the main one. So a lot of those were on TV. So you have to like stay up and, you know, be like, okay, at 8 o'clock, there's going to be the behind the scenes of Taylor Swift's Love Story music video and like that kind of stuff. So I remember staying up and watching those things, being so invested in her, you know, her music. And now I believe all of those things are like on YouTube, but back then they were on television, and it was really, really cool. And there was so much like countdown to her, like her music videos, and they made such a big deal about it. And yeah, like this is when she was starting to get like really, really big, especially in like the country music space. And Fearless was revolutionary. This is the most awarded country album in history, and it still is. She won so many awards, and I remember watching like every single award show that she was on. I remember, watching the Grammy Awards, and she won Album of the Year and Best Country Album, and it made her, one of the youngest artists to ever win that award. And, this was just so revolutionary because she was, in a genre that like is kind of niche. And I know that that's weird to say that country is niche, but there's a very specific audience for country music. And the fact that she was in country, she was in the country space, but she had so many fans that were not in country. It was just drawing a lot of people to the genre. And, she became like such a household name so early on in her career and so quickly in the career. And then this was around the time of the Kanye West incident, which I won't go into because everybody knows about that, but that whole incident was very upsetting to me. I just felt so bad for her. But yeah, this album was worthy of all the accolades that it got. And yeah, the Fearless tour, like I said, absolutely loved it, and was just so excited to see what she was gonna do next. And so then her next album, Speak Now, was released in 2010, and again, was really really excited about this album. Was one of my sister's favorites. I think at the time, like, I liked Fearless a little bit more and my sister liked Speak Now a little bit more. It was just, how it is, but I do love Speak Now. And this was so revolutionary because she wrote every single song on this album by herself. She didn't have a single co-writer on this album, and that was like unheard of for not just country music, but like music in general, and especially like female artists. This was just a unheard of kind of thing that was happening in music. And for Speak Now, I remember again staying up watching the music videos. They teased the music videos for so many weeks. They teased like, the behind the scenes, and it was just, I remember like watching all of this stuff, and it was so different because now you just put them out on YouTube, or you have the music videos in like the movie, like the Life of a Showgirl movie. But yeah, back then it was just all about teasing it and getting people interested in it, and then having the behind the scenes and all that stuff. And so this album, again, super super revolutionary, didn't have co-writers on it, and again, that's just unheard of. And so this concert, I remember going to this concert. This was the first one of her shows that we saw at an indoor venue. We saw her in Washington DC, and I remember her just like coming out, the sparkly dresses, having, the different sets. The sets were elevated even from the Fearless tour. The sets were really elevated. She had so many like backup dancers and different sections of it, and then she flew around at the end. She was playing like Love Story, and she was like in a little balcony that was like floating around the crowd, and I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever, because I had been to concerts before, but I hadn't been to concerts like that before. And so that was just really really cool and really like interesting to me. So I absolutely adored this album as well. Liked Fearless a little bit more, still do, but I still love this album. I love all of her albums. And so my favorite song from Speak Now is Mean, and she did win a Grammy for Mean. And I remember her saying something like, there's nothing like writing a song about someone who criticizes you and then winning a Grammy for it. I just thought that was really funny. And yeah, I think again, she's just really showcasing her talent and everything. So she did win a decent amount of awards for this as well. She's won awards for like most of her albums. Then moving on into one of my absolute favorite albums by Taylor Swift, which is Red. So the Red album was released when I was a freshman in college, and this is when like I feel like this is around the time that Taylor got like pretty big. I think 1989 was like her surge, but because the Red album was like country pop, she was already kind of like delving into it. So even people that I knew in college, in my dorm freshman year, who weren't really into Taylor Swift kind of liked this album. And so I remember like she was teasing like the songs, and we're never getting back together, and we are never ever getting back together came out, and I really liked it. And I know a lot of people were like, this song's so annoying, it's like it's irritating, but like that was the point of the song. Was it the point of it was to be catchy. And then I remember I Knew Your Trouble was released as well before the album, and people in my dorm, again, they weren't really into Taylor, but I Knew Your Trouble, people were like, wait, this is really good. And people started to like her a lot more, at least in my circle. And so I remember having my roommate freshman year, she had a car and me and my friend didn't. And so she drove me and my friend to Target so that we could get her album the day it came out. And I remember like listening to it in the car, and my friend and I were so excited. And then my roommate was like, wait, these songs are actually really good. And so I downloaded it onto my computer, onto my iPod, and I stayed up like I listened to it like throughout the day, but then I stayed up like all night listening to all the songs because I got like the deluxe version, so she had like more songs on it. And so I loved it. Like immediately, just loved like 22. I loved that song because also like I mean I was 18 when this album was released, but the 22 song is definitely like the college years kind of age range. So I definitely like related to that song, and I just really loved the songs, and I just fell in love with All Too Well because that's like one of my favorite songs from that album. And I was also talking to my sister about it because she loves Taylor as well, and we were just kind of bonding over it. And I remember giving this CD to literally almost everybody on my floor of my dorm so that they could download the songs because everybody was like loving the album. And so, yeah, this was the first album that I was listening to when I was independent. And, you know, she had songs like that on her Speak Now album, but I think the Red album was really like when I think of Red, I think of like obviously All Too Well, but I also think of like 22. It's the, you know, you're happy, free, confused, and lonely at the same time. Like you don't really know what's happening, and then you know, there's a lot of like uncertainty, and you're kind of on your own. And this album is also like a breakup album, and I hadn't really been in relationships at that time, but I knew like, you know, what it meant to be, you know, sad about things and, you know, confused and just kind of like trying to live your life but like having struggles. And so I think that's why I really like resonated with this album. And so this was the first tour that I went to just with my mom. And so I remember seeing that tour that summer, and my friend who I was talking about earlier, she also got to see it. We didn't live in like the same areas or anything, so you know we'd be talking like in the summer, you know, about our concerts and everything. And I didn't mention who opened for Taylor on her other tours, so I can go into that in like a little bit. So I remember the Fearless tour, she had Gloriana open for her, and then the Speak Now tour, I think it was Hunter Hayes. And then Red Tour was Ed Sheeran. So I was really excited to see Ed Sheeran because I really loved him. And so we had pretty good seats for the concert. I remember when she came out like on the B stage. So like the B stage is like not the main stage. It's like a smaller little stage. I remember when she came out for the B stage on both Speak Now and, well, Fearless, Speak Now, and Red. What for her B stages, she was pretty close to like where we were sitting. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, so for like the Red Tour, her B stage was like pretty close, and same with Speak Now. But I just remember her like singing the songs with Ed Sheeran and her different outfits, and again she was elevating her sets and everything. And I think like this tour, she didn't have as many like set pieces, but it was more like the production of all of it, because the Fearless and Speak Now tour, she kind of had like some set pieces, and you know there's like a little bit more on the stage, but now she's kind of, you know, just kind of having more dancers, and it's more of like a production versus like set pieces and stuff. So I really enjoyed the Red Tour. And actually when I was in line for merch, so I got in line for merch in between Taylor and Ed's like sets, I was in line and I was kind of just looking around because like there's lots of stuff happening in the stadium, and I was looking around, and I swear her band member Amos walked by me. Like I swear to God he did. And I mean, I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, her band member like walked by me. Like, I swear to God he did. So that was like a cool moment. But yeah, I just adored this album. I love Red. This is one of my favorites. And just, yeah, the whole like concept of the album really spoke to me at the time. And, you know, I just fell like even more in love with her. And just thoroughly enjoyed this album. I still love it. This was actually my favorite of the re-recordings that she did because she had so many vault songs, and I think the vault songs on the Red album, well, Red Taylor's version, were the best out of all the vault tracks from all the albums. And it just like I just love that album so much, and that time period of Taylor was like really important to me in my life. So now we're moving on to 1989. So 1989 came out when I was a junior in college. So 2 years later. And Taylor. Okay, so Taylor, going back to Red really quick. Taylor was really, really looking forward to winning Album of the Year with Red. And I really thought she was going to win because I thought this was a fantastic album. And so this album, I don't have like all of the stats, but I think like Fearless definitely outshined Red with like awards and stuff. I'm not sure about Speak Now, but even during this time, I kind of was thinking, I think she's going to move to pop music. Like, I would not be surprised if she went to pop because Red was very much country pop. I would say it's kind of split 50-50 with like pop and country. And I think also a reason why a lot of people maybe didn't like this album was because it was not one genre. It was kind of like a mishmash of like country, pop, and that kind of stuff. So I think, I mean, that's why that's what she cites as maybe not doing as well, because she said in her words it was not sonically cohesive, which makes sense. But I liked that it wasn't sonically cohesive. But this is when she moves into pop music. So I remember when she announced this album, there was like this special. I don't remember if it was on like CNN or ABC or something. I don't remember like what channel it was on. They were saying like on TV, it was like Taylor Swift has a big announcement. Tune in at whatever o'clock or whatever. And so I remember I was home with my mom. I think it was during the summer. I was home with my mom, and we were like, okay, Taylor's gonna announce something, and we were like, it's gonna be an album, like obviously. And I remember like sitting on the couch, and she was in the room. She was wearing that like white outfit, and she was announcing her new album, and that it's called 1989, and that it was going to be kind of like 80s kind of inspired, and that it was going to be pop. And I remember just saying to my mom, like, oh my god, I knew it, like we knew she was going to go into pop, this is so exciting. And then at the same time, she released the music video for Shake It Off, and I was just dying over this song. And I just immediately fell in love with this song. And Take It Off is actually my second favorite Taylor Swift song of all time. I did this whole song ranking quiz, I guess. That's not really a quiz, but there's a person on Tumblr, their account is called Jesse Pinkman, Breaking Bad reference, and they have album sorters, song sorters, and stuff, and they're just these like generators where you can sort different things, and then it will give you your official ranking. So when I did that of all the Taylor Swift songs, and yes, this took me like an hour to do because there's so many songs, Shake It Off is actually my number 2 favorite song of all time by Taylor. So I loved that song. I just thought the sentiment of it was really cool. I thought it was cool that she was kind of like just kind of making fun of herself in the music video, because like her whole music video is her trying to do these different types of dances, and like she's kind of bad at all of them, but that's kind of like the point. And I just love that the song was so lighthearted and fun, and it was just like, it's just such a wonderful song. It's one of my favorite songs by her, obviously number 2. um and so I was just thinking like, wow, if this is any indication of like what the album is going to be like, this is going to be like one of my favorite albums. And 1989 is my second favorite album as well. And so she did like so much like marketing for this, and she was hyping everything up, and I was just so excited. And then right after the album came out, she released the music video for Blank Space. And Blank Space is actually my number 1 favorite song by Taylor Swift. And that music video is one of my absolute favorite music videos by Taylor as well. And when this song came out, I was a junior in college. The same friend that I was listening to Red with, we were listening to this and we watched the videos together. And like anytime she had like a new music video, like we would watch them together. And I remember when this song came out and the music video came out, I was like, this is genius. Like, she is literally like, and she's said this before, since the song has come out, like this is not like new information, but I totally got like what she was doing with this. Like, this song is a satire, and it's about how the media portrays her, and she's running with it. And a lot of people didn't get that. And a lot of people were like, oh my god, like she is actually crazy, and like she's like boy hungry and all this stuff. And I'm like, you don't get it. Like, that is what is such a genius thing, not just about Taylor's music, but like about this album too, is like there's so much like playing with like her reputation. And I know that the next album is Reputation, but like she's just doing so much, like it's so much satire and so much commentary, and it's just like, this is what people think she is, so she's going to write a song about that, and through that perspective. And I think that's another reason why Blank Space is my favorite song by her, because not only is it funny, but it's just clever. The idea is clever, the beat is good, the lyrics are really good, and it's such a perfect like quintessential Taylor Swift song, because I don't know, it's just the lyrics are so wonderful. I love like the story that she's telling. I love that she's, it's showing, how much she really wasn't letting like the media bother her. And I think this is like the time when she really blew up. Like, to me, she was always like a big star because I have always liked her. But this was the album that got a lot of people becoming fans of hers because it's a full pop album. You know, the songs, all of these songs were on pop radio. They were on like mainstream radio. And I think a lot of her other music was on mainstream radio, but especially with like her first couple of albums, they weren't really. And there was some stuff from like Red and I think Speak Now that made it onto like mainstream radio, and probably Love Story as well. But this album was, you know, this was that start of she's more mainstream now. And I do think back then I thought that the support from the country music industry and the other artists was really nice because, you know, they didn't feel like it wasn't like this betrayal, you know. They saw that she was growing. She wanted to do something else and they were happy for her. And since then, she has done some country stuff. And she's also delved into so many other genres since 1989. And, you know, she performed Betty on, I don't remember what award show it was, but she did perform Betty on like a country music award show. And that was a big deal. And she also went to the Bluebird Cafe to perform Better Man as well. And so she still does have ties to the country music industry. And so, speaking of the Bluebird Cafe, so if you don't know what the Bluebird Cafe is, it is a cafe in Nashville, Tennessee, and that is where Taylor Swift was discovered. So going off of like the 1989, and speaking of Nashville and the Bluebird, when I was a senior in college, so this is still when this album was out, this was before Reputation came out, I really wanted to go to Nashville because I thought that that's what I wanted to do. Like I thought that I wanted to go live in Nashville. Didn't ever happen. But my mom took me to Nashville on my spring break when I was a senior, and we went around to see Big Machine Records. We saw that record studio. We went to the Country Music Hall of Fame. We went to the Grand Ole Opry. And so, you know, I was kind of like looking out for all the Taylor Swift stuff there. And so we also went to the Bluebird Cafe. And so I don't know if it's the same now, but then, and this was like I think it was 2015 when this happened. No, it was 2016. This is March 2016 we went there. So I don't know if the rules are still the same with the cafe, but at the time you had to wait outside in line, and then they would like, you know, call people in and kind of take people as they had seats. And so we were kind of in the back of the line, and my mom's like, we might not be able to get in. Like, this is not a guaranteed thing. Like, it's okay if we don't get in. And we actually were one of the last groups to be accepted to get in. And obviously Taylor Swift was not playing there, but I wanted to go there because this is where she was discovered. And it was a wonderful experience. Like, it was really, really good. It was just phenomenal. So if you are in Nashville or you're planning on taking like a trip to Nashville or something, I do highly recommend that you check out the Bluebird Cafe if you can. And again, like I said, I don't know if it's the same thing. I don't know if you can make reservations. I don't know about that. But it was a really wonderful experience. So again, I was kind of feeling like I was kind of tied to her in a sense. And then we did go to the 1989 tour. My mom and I went there. This was around the time when like concert tickets were kind of hard to get. I mean, they're even worse now, and we'll get into that with the Eras tour, but it was hard. And my mom, it was hard for her to get the tickets, but she got them for us, and it was so much fun. And that was the concert where she had Lorde come out and sing with her. So they sang Royals together, and that was a really cool moment because she was like having all these guests come out and for all of her concerts, and I was like, who's she gonna get for like Washington DC? And she had Lorde come out, and it was really cool. So that's like the only time they have ever performed together, which is pretty cool to say that I got to see that. And then also at that tour, it kind of became like famous in like the Swiftie community because there's like a big platform that was supposed, if you've seen like the concert version, like the movie version of 1989 tour, when she does Shake It Off, there's this platform that's supposed to raise up into the air and it's supposed to like spin around. That thing was like broken because it rained the day before, and the stuff was like, the equipment was like sitting out in the rain, and so it wasn't able to like move. And she acknowledged that, and she was like, it doesn't matter, you guys don't care, like we could be in the parking lot and you guys would still like to listen to my music and stuff. So, you know, she was just showing again how like professional she is and stuff. So absolutely loved that. It was one of my favorite tours that she did. And then, so we're still going off of 1989, graduate from college. I'm getting, you know, out into the world. I'm excited for, you know, what's to come, but also like excited for Taylor. And then the whole blow up with the Kanye West, Kim Kardashian phone call happened, and people started canceling her left, right, and center. And I remember talking to my sister about it, and we were on like vacation, like when this was happening. And I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? And the internet was like turning on her. And I felt so bad. Like, just as someone who like looks up to her as like a role model and stuff, like I just felt bad for her. And I felt, that the whole situation just didn't seem like like the truth didn't seem like it was being told from Kanye's side. And obviously, since then, we know that she was in the right and everything, and people didn't need to cancel her over all of that. But this was like the first time that she was really like publicly just like canceled. And I know she was like publicly humiliated with like the VMA incident, but like people were more on her side. But this was like the first time that people were like really turning on her, and it was I just felt bad. And then she disappeared for so long, and we had no music from her. We heard nothing from her, and I didn't ever think like, oh, she's quitting music or she's quit music or whatever, because I don't think she ever will. But I was just so sad about that. And then I remember she wiped her entire Instagram, and people were like, oh my God, something's coming because she's wiped her whole Instagram. This is crazy. Then she released all like the videos with like the snakes and stuff. And the reason why she did that was because Kim Kardashian started this whole campaign online to like call her a snake. And so all these people were like commenting on all of her pictures and all of her posts and stuff, snake emojis. And that was just supposed to be like this big like diss against her or whatever. Because a snake means you're like shady and stuff. And so she took that snake motif and sort of turned it into like the kind of unofficial like mascot of the Reputation album. And so she was teasing all this, and she's like, something's coming or whatever. And so she released the music video, or she released the song for Look What You Made Me Do first. She had the lyric video out. And I remember I stayed up. I don't know if she released it at midnight or it was just late at night. And I remember staying up and listening to it. And I was thinking, this is good. Like, I really like this. And I know a lot of people on the internet and some of my friends didn't like it. They thought it was really just, they didn't like the song. I think at the time, like my sister might not have been the biggest fan of it. She likes it now, but at the time, I think it was so much different than 1989, because although she had Bad Blood and that song's kind of like Reputation coded as well, that album was very happy. It was very much like, I'm single, I'm on my own, I'm having fun with my friends. Like that album was very happy, and there were some sad songs on it, but like for the most part, the sentiment was uplifting. And so this album, people were like, oh my God, like what is she doing? Like this is weird. But I was all for it. I saw the vision of it. I thought it was really, really clever. I liked it. And I think a lot of people were very offended and upset by her saying, sorry, the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. Like, I think people were like, oh my God, like, she's completely different. She's changed. She's not the same person anymore. And I don't think like that's what that was. And that's not what Reputation is. It was her showing how her reputation had been tarnished, but also like leaning into her reputation. So it's very kind of like similar to like Blank Space in the sense, because some of the songs on Reputation are definitely kind of that same vibe where she's kind of taking like what the media thinks she is versus what she really is. I'm gonna probably do an entire album breakdown for like every album at some point. So I do want to do one on Reputation, because Reputation is my number one favorite album by Taylor Swift. So going back to Look What You Made Me Do, I really liked the song. And then she announced, I think it was that year at like, I think it was the VMAs. They said that they were going to have her music video play during the award show. So I was at home watching this with my mom, because I lived with my parents at the time. Well, I lived with my parents like right before this album. When she was teasing the album, I lived with them, and then by the time she had released the album, I had moved in to my first apartment. But so at the time, I was with my mom. I was watching it, and the music video begins. And if you've seen the music video, and I do want to actually do I want to do a ranking of all of her music videos, and I also want to do like deep dives into them, like I did with the Fate of Ophelia one. But this is also one of my favorite music videos. So it opens up with like the grave, and it says like the old Taylor, and then she's like dead, and then she comes out as a zombie, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, this is so good. And then the whole music video is just like poking fun at like her past self and poking fun at stuff. And it's also at the time, like, I don't think people really understood what it is. And she's never really like said exactly what the song is about. But I personally think this is about not only like to the media and to like the public, like, look what you made me do, you made me change. But I also think this is about her management, and it was the start of her, because this is the last album she had with her old management. So I think it's like, look what you made me do. You made me, want to leave you, and this is my last hurrah of an album. So again, I want to go into that song as an episode, but I loved the music video. I thought the ending of it was so funny with her having like all of the different like eras. This was like the first time where she kind of was leaning into like the eras as well. And they were all like talking to each other and stuff, and it was just, it's funny. Like it's a clever music video. It's funny, and I was so excited for like what this album was going to bring about. And so I remember she released Ready for It, and I loved that song. I liked the music video. It's not my favorite music video by her, but I do like Ready for It. And then when the album came out, I loved Endgame. I love all of the songs on that album. That album is literally my favorite, like I said. And my favorite song from Reputation is actually Dancing with Our Hands Tied. And unfortunately, when I was at the concert, she was flipping between Dancing with Her Hands Tied and So It Goes for the acoustic section of the concert. She also did, at my concert, she did State of Grace. So during the acoustic section, she would sing one of those songs, and then she would also sing like another song, which she always does that. Like, I mean, she did that on the Eras tour. She does that all the time. But at my concert, she did not sing Dancing with Her Hands Tied, which I was really disappointed. But on the Reputation Stadium tour, like, movie that came out, she has Dancing with Her Hands Tied as the performance there. So I kind of like to say that I didn't get to hear it live, but I can watch the performance whenever I want to. And like I said, that album was released when I moved into my first apartment. I did have a roommate, and my roommate loved the album as well. We would listen to it together all the time. And this was just one of those albums that I just really, really, really liked. And I got all of like the nuances and everything that she was saying like within this album. I really understood that. I loved Call It What You Want. I think that was one of the singles. Gorgeous. I think that one might have came out before the album was released too, but that's one of my favorite songs too. Getaway Car is one of my favorite songs. And Getaway Car is number 10. Ironically though, in my top 10 favorite songs from that ranking, only one from Reputation is on there. And even though that's my favorite album, but 4 songs from 1989 are on there. So weird how that works out, but I think you can maybe like songs more than other songs on other albums, but the album as a whole can be your favorite. So like the entirety of Reputation, everything that it means, everything that it was and is my favorite. But 1989 has more like songs that were on my top. I don't know, it's kind of funny. I do want to do an episode all about like my top 10 favorite songs. Won't be able to do all of them because there's a lot of songs on it, but maybe we'll do that at some point. And then she announced the Reputation Stadium tour, and I was like, Mom, we gotta go. And so what she did for this, and this is where I think the Ticketmaster disaster ended up coming in with the Eras tour, because what she did for Reputation tour is that she had this special website, and you had to register on the site, and then you had to do different things every single day, and you would rack up points. And those points indicated which day of the pre-sale you could buy your tickets on. So you had to like watch her music videos, you had to comment on things, you had to maybe like buy her singles or buy merch and like do all these different things. And then you had to like play her music videos over and over again. So basically what I did, I was working from home 2 days a week at that point. And what I would do is when I was working from home, I would literally have the music video I would mute it and I would have it on repeat all day. So I ended up racking up so many points, and I did like other stuff as well, but like that was like kind of how I was getting most of my points. And so I ended up racking up enough points to get the second day of the pre-sale. And so I ended up getting really, really good seats. We were really close to the B stage. We were pretty close to like where the floor of like the stadium was, and they were amazing seats. It was an amazing concert. And unfortunately, that was in 2018. That was the last time I've ever seen Taylor Swift live, because I've mentioned before I did not get to go to the Eras tour. Still devastated about that. But now we are halfway through Taylor's discography and halfway through my Swiftie journey. So that is it for this episode of part 1 of my Taylor Swift journey and going through Taylor Swift's discography. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a little bit more about her discography. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my Swiftie journey. So with that, stay safe, stay classy, and I will chat again with you soon. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find us on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. See you there.